no, this is very dramatic makeup. I mean, Halloween is coming and, a girl's gotta test out the goods before. Oh, hey! Hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of Drag Race Holland Season 1, Episode 3. And all I have to say is, I am so sorry to Chuck Misseldine. For some reason, Chuck, I don't know why, maybe it's because I've been in my apartment alone too long, but I forgot to add you to my Patreon credits, and I am so sorry that I did. So you're there now, and my apologies. And I just want to send a shout out to all of my Patreoners. I don't verbally say how much I appreciate you because you're all there at the end in the credits, but I know a lot of you just zip through that or skip it, or I can see some of you stop right there watching. So I just want to say, while I have an audience, thank you to my Patreoners. I couldn't do what I've been doing without you, and I just am looking forward to getting the live chats going. I'm just saying, I'm looking forward to it. With that said, I also want to take a moment to thank my tipperdoos, Patrick, Malachi, Joe Van Patten again. Hello, how are you, Joe? And Susan Nikolai. God bless you all. And speaking of Chuck Misseldine, well, look who's my Redbubble model this week. I was going to say month. It's been a while, and I apologize. But there you are, Chuck. Looking gorgeous. If you want a shirt just like Chuck's, well, all you got to do is click on one of the links down below. I'm so serious. All right, so let's get started. Jorge, drink me. Oh, look at you, garnished and everything. Somebody went to the store, thank God. Olé. This is the lazy margarita for me. It's Fresca and tequila. Yummo. We're still looking for Advocate. We got to get that cream look. Oh, eggnoggy barf. So, we started this episode off by saying bye to Patty Pam Pam, and some were sadder to see her go than others, mostly because they wish it had been Madam Madness. I'm so serious. I'm trying to see why the other queens have such a problem with Maddie Madness. Her costumes aren't that cheap. Pam Pam's message to play nice didn't go over that well with some of the queens. Okay, just JJ, who seems to think that there's no room for playing nice in drag because of all the jealousy and backstabbing. Yeah, being done by her. Seriously. But to prove she wasn't a jealous, backstabbing biatch, JJ apologized to Abby. Well, what she said was that she was sorry that she was so direct with people. I was sorry that for a shady queen, JJ was such a coward when Abby stood up to her. I'm just saying. Mind you, I think those 4-inch nails had something to do with it. Seriously. To change the subject, the queens congratulated Envy on her win, much to her delight, and then they got the hell out of drag. Who wouldn't? The next day, Maddie's plan was to stay out of the bottom too, but before she could elaborate, there was Rue's video message, which excited JJ because it was all about stealing spotlights. Good thing Fred was there to elaborate. Or was he? If you ask me, he was just there to push that prize dress on the queens yet again. I don't think Fred's helping anyone by taking that pig to the fair. Best he should leave it in the barn, if you know what I'm saying. Honestly, it would just sound better if they left it at Winner of Drag Race Holland. Period. They don't have to mention that dress. Do they? So, to work the girls up, Fred was festooned in orange. But not for King's Day, for Queen's Day. Now, Holland's only had its current king since 2013. But for 123 years before that, it's always been Queen's Day in the Netherlands. So, it was a pretty easy adjustment for the queens to make. On King or Queen's Day, whoever the ruling monarchy is, they celebrate by playing games like sack races, poop the nail, and bite the cake. Wow, they must really hate their monarchy in the Netherlands. Poop the nail? No wonder they wear wooden shoes. Obviously something was lost in translation because the queens kept calling it nail the toilet, which didn't sound any better. After a little ogling of the new pit crew boy, ogle, wow! And this from a country that eats a lot of cheese, I don't mind saying. The queens had to get into quick drag, and then it was time to bite the pit crew. Cake! I meant cake. Megan and Maddie had no trouble swallowing those carbs, but Abby and Chelsea were too stuffed and were out for the next round. And the next round, whether you called it poop the nail or nail the toilet, I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen it for myself. What was even weirder was how difficult this task seemed to be. Eventually, it was Megan Schoenbrod and Envy Peru who had the worst aim, and they were out for the final round, which was the most family-friendly game of the lot, sack races. Well, that was until the queens started hopping, and then it was water balloon titties everywhere. There wasn't a dry eye in the house, especially between Maddie and Sergine, who were the winners. And what did they win? They were the team captains for this week's Maxi-challenge. The queens had to act in Goisha Drags, a spoof of Goisha Women, a popular Dutch TV show that lies somewhere between Sex and the City and Real Housewives. There's even a movie. Look it up. Maddie Madness chose JJ, Abby, and Megan. Personally, I wouldn't want both JJ and Abby on the same team, but then they didn't ask me. Sergine's team was Envy, Mama, and Chelsea, who seemed happy to be working together, even if Megan Schoenbrod didn't think they were going to win. As the queens got down to work on their scripts, Team Sergine got down to casting. For those of you who don't know, Goisha is a rich neighborhood in Holland, like Beverly Hills, where everyone is just too fabulous and they all talk like yuppies. Terrifying. Mama Queen especially seemed to be built for this task. She had the Goisha accent down. The house? Would that have worked there? Over on Team Madness, things seemed to be going fairly well, and by that, I mean no one had pissed off JJ yet. As team leader, Maddie was ready to give her teammates all the advice she had to give, but as the shy girl she is, her message wasn't received. Meanwhile, Chelsea was looking forward to brutally murdering her team captain, Sergine. In their scene, that is, and Sergine seemed okay with that. Heck, I wouldn't mind being stabbed once or twice by Chelsea. What? Back on Maddie's team, her timidity with the more seasoned on her team held her back from doling out some much-needed coaching on their horrible acting. Abby OMG! And the few words of guidance she did eke out were met with cool disdain, which I know is genuine because none of those queens were good enough actors to act that cool. First to the set to be directed by Fred and guest judge actor Rick Paul Van Mulligan, who must be famous because Megan already had a crush on him, was Team Madness. This was a very divided performance for me. Maddie and JJ were okay, but clearly acting isn't a forte for either Abby or Megan. Fred and Rick kept giving them direction, which they didn't like, or better yet, just didn't understand because they did nothing to improve their performances. Team Sergine were an improvement to be sure. Despite her worries about not having enough time to prepare for their scene, Sergine was a natural. Naturally. Mama was hilarious, and not just because she was the funniest in her scene. Seriously, that accent killed me. But what was even funnier to me was her worrying about swallowing a bunch of pills. It sounded like she was worried that they were aspirin or something, so when they yelled cut, she threw them up. Boy, that's method. I would have just spit the pills out. Envy Peru got a little sidetracked, which may not have happened if she'd rode that sexy pit crew boy side saddle, if you ask me. I think we can all agree that that naughty little pit crew pony was rode hard and put away harder, which I think is cruelty to animals. Call PETA! Then it was Elimination Day, and some of the queens were worried, especially after their performances yesterday. Abby was concerned, but she wasn't worried about going home. Well, not yet at any rate. Maddie was excited for her bovine runway look, and Chelsea teased that this would be the week that she would be serving fish. Yeah, dead fish was Abby's reaction to that. Rude. While the queens were getting made up, Chelsea shared with Envy that for her, drag was the medium from which all her art flows. Envy shared that drag allowed her to connect with her sexuality and the community she now calls family. It was very interesting to me to see two queens talk about their families and their different reactions to their sons not only being gay, but being drag queens. Personally, I love to hear when my LGBTQI brothers and sisters had loving upbringings Probably because I didn't. I fall into the envy Peru side of things, so my heart hurt for her when she shared her mother's negative reaction. Speaking of negative reactions, Madam Madness seems to be getting judged awfully harshly. Everyone seemed to have a problem with her adding finishing touches to her look, like she wasn't prepared or something. What? No one had a problem when Abby was doing the exact same thing? Seriously. JJ particularly seemed to be unimpressed with her look, making it sound like there's a plethora of cow makeup choking up the interwebs. Yeah, because dressing like an extra from Lord of the Rings is so original. And then it was time for the runway, and I have to say, I didn't like this outfit on Fred. Not that she looked bad, she looked great. Just that those colors weren't my fave. And then, when Fred was introducing Klaus Iverson, it was revealed that Klaus designed it. Well, that explains that dead pink color, seriously. Of course, Nikki Plesson was there, because what else has she got to do? Along with Rick Paul Van Mulligan, who was way better dressed than anyone else there, if you ask me. So sparkly, whoa. This week's category is Miss Holland. Mama Queen was first, and I just gagged. Not because she was puffing on a fatty, I have no judgments there. I gagged because this was the most beautiful Mama's been all season. I'm so serious. She had legs for days, her outfit was gorgeous, and her makeup and hair were perfection. High praise indeed. All I have to say is I'm glad Envy had a reveal with her runway because that little storm cloud off the top wasn't the most flattering. But once the clouds parted, not like that, not like that. The sun shone through and had everyone scrambling for the sunblock. JJ walked down the runway in a plastic bag full of water. That's the second weather, rain-related outfit on the runway so far. Who's not being original now? Abby wore the worst outfit this week, if you ask me. It looked like she just glued a bunch of flowers to her chest, wrapped a flag around it, and called it done. Nothing on the bottom, just another bathing suit. Add to the mix her horrible performance in Geisha drags, and this was not looking like a good week for Miss Abby, I'm so serious. It was, however, a great week for Chelsea Boy. This windblown look was perfection. Now, this is a look that's been done before. Remember the princess? No one does. Chelsea looked like she was in a hurricane. The wig looked like it was caught in the wind. The softness of her dress was beautifully retained through whatever means that she had underneath it to hold its shape. I was speechless. And, as promised, that queen was serving poisson, which is French for fish. It looked like Megan Schoenbrod was feeling her oats in this outfit, but I fear she was the only one. I will say this, it was a way better design than Abby's I'm So Serious, but with those spinning windmills, all those tulips, and the flag of Friesland on her sleeves, it was just a bit too much for me to look at. I love Setter Jean's runway, from the bale of hay on the top of her head to the high-heeled klompen on her dainty little hooves. This was also perfection. I don't know what everyone's problem was with Maddie Madness's runway. I thought she looked adorable. I don't think she needed all those flowers glued to it, and I would have carried a large cowbell instead of that purse, but it was still one of my faves. And then it was time to watch Geisha drags. Well, say goodbye to 4.5 minutes I'll never get back. Both these scenes were hard to watch, but I thought Team Setter Jean was more fun. First, Fred announced that JJ and Envy were safe, much to their own disappointment. You could tell that they both thought they'd won this challenge. Bless. And then it was time for the judges' critiques. They all loved Mama Queen, from the performance in the Geisha drag to her runway. This was a good week for Mama. Abby, not so much. The judges' reaction to her acting was as limp as the dying tulip she glued to her runway outfit, and they all agreed that outfit was missing a skirt. For shame. Chelsea was another favorite of the judges, who felt she murdered the acting challenge, but in a good way. But her runway blew them all away, literally. Megan was another one that the judges weren't impressed with. They wished she'd brought as much personality to the acting challenge as she did to the runway, which they also hated. Setter Jean was another fave of the judges, and I love how Fred said at first she wasn't impressed with Setter Jean's runway and dismissed it as just another comedy queen look, but then Fred pointed out that Setter Jean had yet to repeat a silhouette. So, well done, Setter Jean. Maddie Madness was next, and the only thing anyone seemed to have a problem with her was a purse. So she threw it away. Now, I get that Klaus Iverson is a name in the Netherlands, and as a fashion designer, I can see why they thought he might do well as a judge. But Real Fashion Insight didn't work with Santino Rice, and it's not working now, I'm so serious. This guy just doesn't seem to get drag or fashion. if Fred's outfit and that prize dress are any gauge. I'm so serious. Fred's only complaint was that she would have liked to have seen some udders. So Maddie whipped one out. Back in the workroom, JJ and Sergine didn't understand why the judges seemed to like Maddie's runway. They also seemed to have no problems with Abby's negative critiques. So after a refresh on this week's lip sync song, the queens returned to the runway where it was announced that Mama Queen was this week's winner, and rightly so. Which left Megan and Abby in the bottom, much to Maddie's delight and Sergine and JJ's chagrin. Even Mama Queen seemed to want Maddie to go home, which surprised me. Why don't these queens like her? Seriously. And then it was time for the lip sync to Anita Meyer's Why Tell Me Why. Right away, Abby ditched her dress, thank God. Too bad Megan couldn't do the same thing. This was a fairly lackluster lip sync for me. Megan was fairly safe with her performance, but Abby's acrobatics seemed to be more desperation than inspired by the song. I enjoyed watching Megan more than Abby because I appreciate that classic drag style, and Megan is a lovable idiot, which I mean in the nicest way. But when the music faded, it was Megan who was asked to sashay away. I'll tell you this, I didn't go into this season of Drag Race Holland expecting too much from Megan Schoenberg. I certainly didn't expect that I would like her so much. I'm so serious. So, there you go. 3 queens down. Do you feel the right queen went home? Did Madam Madness deserve to be in the bottom instead of Abby? And who's going to be next to sashay away? All we can do is tune into Drag Race Holland next week to see how it all plays out. And then, when you're done, you come on back and see me so you and I can compare notes. Now, don't forget to like this video if you did, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And if you want to support my channel, me, or better yet, the Rainbow Railroad, all the links are in the description box down below. Until next week, miss me! Mwah! Seriously, Jorge, ooh, I hurt myself. I hit the table. I need to take care of myself. You know what helps? This cocktail is delicious.